The Magicians Podcast is brought to you in proud association with the Magic Circle, Alakazam Magic, and Gigio.
You know, I'm not one to hop in online and act like I'm 14 and start, sending out little snippets of like crankiness. Like, come on. And you can leave that in.
Yo, it's my life, my time, my rights, my rhymes, my grind, my struggle, hustle, sweat in my blood too. I'm ready to smell fear, I smell a lot. My competitors flex here, cause they smelled I was hot. I want it all, excess, the sex, much success, stress us. I want it all, no less, so come on.
A consequence of great success is often great criticism, and today Darcy Oake addresses his critics. Hello everybody, welcome to the Magicians Podcast. I am Richard Young. Thank you very much for hitting the download button and welcome to the beginning of Season 3. We have launched today with a double bill, so if you've just refreshed the feed and seen Darcy Oake's name at the top, make sure you don't miss the other brand new episode today. It's episode 49. It's with my double act partner Sam Strange. It's an episode which we created for your education and amusement. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you don't miss it. If you don't follow us on Twitter, please do it now. We are at Magician Podcast, or you can give our Facebook page a like. Just go to facebook.com/Magicians Podcast. There is no advertising budget here, so I really need your help to spread the word. Please let all your magician friends know that the Magicians Podcast is back. I need you to spread the word to let people know we're back so that we get a nice big wide audience here and hopefully some discussion too. This episode is one which will definitely want to be discussed afterwards. As I mentioned, it's with Darcy Oake. The first part of the interview is all about Darcy's career to date, and the second half is all about some of the criticism which he's come into. This interview is really honest, and I think whenever anyone appears on the Magicians Podcast and is completely open and honest about things which I bring up, they should be applauded, and Darcy is on top form in this interview. He does exactly that. I'm a big Darcy fan. I went to see his show at the Bristol Hippodrome in September last year, and of course I followed his journey on Britain's Got Talent in 2014 as well. We met at the Magic Circle headquarters just before Darcy disappeared off to South Africa to do some filming. It was really good of him to meet me literally the night before he left the country, and I sincerely hope you enjoy this interview. Here he is then, Darcy Oake. Delighted to say I am sat here with Darcy Oake. Here he is. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for agreeing to do this. I really appreciate it. A big fan. I will put my cards on the table there and say I am a big fan.
Well, and vice versa. I listen to this quite frequently.
I'll tell you the first question I want to ask. Do you live here or do you live in Canada?
Yeah, so I'm back and forth between here and Canada.
So you got a home in each?
Yeah, pretty much. And it's I feel more at home here though, to be honest.
Oh,
like
really?
I'm from Winnipeg, Canada. It's not. I mean, it is. It's a metropolis now, but it's still like very small town vibe, and it's cool. Like the more I'm over here, and it's just this feels like home to me. Like this feels like where I should be, as opposed to in this like kind of
Well, because one of my last questions actually is, I'll do it as one of my opening questions.
There we go.
Was what do you want to do over the next 5 years? Do you want to be here and establish yourself here, or do you want to go home and do it there? Or want to do both? What's the plan, Darcy?
Yeah, well, I mean, sort of like since Britain's Got Talent, I've been kind of going back and forth in trying to tackle both markets at the same time and make what happened over here with me translate back home. So it's been kind of like a lot of traveling back and forth, but London is where I'm supposed to be for sure. Yeah.
You did just do a show at home though, I think, with about 6,000 people in the arena, didn't you?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
How did that come about?
Well, that was like since BGT, I was always like, hey, I got to do a show at home. Like the last time before Britain's Got Talent that I did a show at home would have been like maybe 3 years before that, and I mean like a full-on theater show.
Yeah.
And so it was about 3 years before 3 years? I don't know, it's 2-3 years, somewhere around there. It was a while before Britain's Got Talent that I did an actual full-on theater show. Britain's Got Talent happened, things started going crazy, and I was like, I have to do a show at home. It's Winnipeg is like under 1 million people, but everybody either knows someone or knows someone who knows someone else in the city. So it's like a very small town kind of vibe, and everybody kind of knows what people are doing. So for someone to get like, and I'm not speaking arrogantly or anything, but for someone to have sort of what happened to me on Britain's Got Talent from that city was like it was a big thing.
Okay.
And so I was like, I have to do something at home. And then when the tour happened and all of this and everything was unfolding, and I got in touch with kind of, my management and everything like that, it all sort of came full circle, and I was able to do the arena in my hometown. But it wasn't like the whole tour was arenas or anything. That was like the last show in my hometown. And it was all it was planned that way.
Did you decide to do Britain's Got Talent instead of America's Got Talent for a particular reason?
Sort of, I guess, and now I can speak about it completely openly, when during the show I couldn't really give this answer, but it's like and as they do every year, I'm sure magicians in the circle here and everywhere else have been asked to do it, and they're like, oh, you should come audition. And that happened to me. They reached out, and it was like, initially it was like some researcher guy, and he sent me some email. I never replied for like a week, and I was sort of going through my emails, and I read it again. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. And then he sent me like 3 more emails, and then I was like, all right, I'll address this or whatever. And he was like, we think you should come audition. We've seen your doves, because I did Le Plus Grand Cabaret in Paris. And he's like, oh, we've seen your doves. Nobody's ever done anything like that on the show. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll think about it. And it was probably like 4 or 5 phone calls where they were like, would you come do it? And eventually they said all of the right things, and I was working in a show. I was doing like a spot in a variety show, and it was like, it was good. It was this French show in Paris, and it was like very like, everyone else in the show was French, and I was English, and they were kind of like always speaking French, and I just felt very like, I'm so happy to be working, but like, I don't know if this is the group of people I could see myself spending the next year with or whatever. And it was one of those moments where you're like, where am I going? Like, should I go do another cruise ship? What should I do? And it's just like trying to find work, and I was like artistically unsatisfied, I guess. And he had like referenced, this researcher guy on the phone, he had referenced like my dove act from like a time where like I don't think anyone had seen it, or I don't know if there's videos of it or what, but like he was like, oh, that time you did your dove act at this place. I was like, oh, you're okay. And I legitimately remember saying to him at one point, like, I've heard horror stories, not from over here or wherever, but like of, guys coming to do their act, and you dub clown music over, or you do whatever, you spin it into however you want it to be. And he's like, no, like, they had James Moore on last year, and he's like, we had James on last year, and like, we know it can be cool, people are digging it, like, we want you to come. And I was like, cool, yeah, all right. And he had referenced this other show, and I was like, okay, like, they're not looking to make me go on there and make me look like an ass, right? So I went and did it, and you've been kind of jerked around all day and go here and go there. I think my saving grace was the fact that I had the doves. It was like, I have live animals. You cannot, like, if you tell me I'm on in 20 minutes, I'm going to be prepared to go on in 20 minutes, and if it doesn't happen, then I'm unloading the doves, basically. And it's going to throw a whole kink into everything. And actually, what's funny is when that he told me you'll be on in 15, 20 minutes or whatever, and I was like so antsy to do it that I loaded the doves probably like 2-3 minutes earlier than I should have. And I was like, hey, I'm ready to go. And he's like, oh, there's 2 more acts. And I'm like, oh, and that's fine. There's like, 5-6 minutes. And he's like, you know what? We'll just get you on now. I was like, oh, yes, thank God. Like, so the doves aren't like, going crazy in there and whatever. So yeah, it was never like they were, like, they basically had done their research. I don't want to say they convinced me to do it, but subtly they said the right things. They had seen the videos that I didn't even know were out there, and this and that. And it ended up being the absolute smartest decision I've ever made in my life. Like, it was amazing.
We talk about the semi-final performance, particularly the illusion you did. Which was I loved, and it caught me, actually.
Oh, nice, perfect.
Which was great. So it's a nice switcheroo. How did that illusion all come about? And
so that illusion I'd been doing, and it's funny because I'd also like heard people on AGT and pretty much just America's Got Talent that were actually like renting props from people. And the difference between America's Got Talent and Britain's Got Talent is the amount of like rounds you have to do. And that was another reason that made me commit to BGT, was the fact it's only 3 rounds. You need 3 A bits of material, where on AGT it's like
5 or 6.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a bunch. And so the fact I knew it was only 3, I was like, yeah, okay. I feel like if I don't have 3 A bits, and I've been like working on the ships, working here and there, that like could be decent for this, then like I'm probably doing the wrong thing. So I approached it exactly like the show. It was the beginning and the middle and the end of my actual show at that time. And they were trying to, just to jump gears, they were trying to convince me to do the Jaws second round.
Okay.
And they were like, oh, we need it. You'll be guaranteed in the finals. I was like, yeah, but then I have nothing in the finals. So I'll take the risk here to, make sure I have it in the finals. But Yeah, that was a bit that I'd been doing in the show for like since the last show that I had done in my hometown, which was like 2-3 years previous to that, and we just had it made differently to be more deceptive and be more effective. But yeah, that was a bit that I've been doing for a while, and it's always one of the most like nerve-wracking bits for me, because there's like a couple moments or one main moment where you're just bare ass naked, like you're just hoping they're not seeing it, and that's pretty much it. And it's like that was like such an inner dilemma for me for the whole time. I was like, oh, what if they see this? It's ruined. I'm not going through. And it was like, no, they're not going to see it, and da da da. So it ended up being effective. Timing was a little off, I remember that, but that was because we had to teach someone else something and da 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 da. But it ended up working, which was successful.
So you always that's interesting. You've already kind of answered my next question. You were saving the jaws for the final if you got there. The bit I love about the jaws, obviously you do it brilliantly and your timing on, and the final is amazing. The video on the wall on the background. Arturo, something to do with that?
Yeah, 100%. And this was an agreement that him and I have. That was like whenever anyone asks me about it, that I say that it's his, because that was the bit. It's funny. It actually kind of comes full circle. That was Arturo's amazing. Arturo Brichetti is like this quick change artist from Italy who is like the best of the best. And his show was the one that I was working in Paris, and that was the French show with me being the only English guy in this troupe of French magicians, and it was Arturo's show, and we were all guest acts in it, and I was doing the Jaws in that show, and that was 4.5 months in Paris, and that was the bit I was doing. I was doing that in like a little other sort of interlude segment with a couple other kind of small illusions, and Arturo, I can't remember how this happened. He had the idea, and then he told the director, and the director was like, this is an amazing idea. It's not right for the show, which it's not, because the show in Paris was titled like Comedy Magic Show, written all wrong. And it was basically large part comedy. And the two of them had discussed it, and they were like, I don't know if we should tell Darcy about this because it's a really good idea, and I know that he'll want to do it in this show, and it's not right for the show. And Arturo told me about it like towards the end of the run in Paris, and he's like, here's what you should do. This would be cool. And I was like, oh, that is absolutely amazing. And we discussed it like in depth.
So if you've not seen it, if you've been living on the moon, it's basically just as you're being hoisted up on the jaws of death to risk your life, there's a video which plays on the wall behind you, which is if you had 60 seconds to live, and it's all about your life would flash before your eyes.
Basically, as the spiel is, if you had 60 seconds to live, what would you think about? If you were going to die in a minute, what would go through your mind? And people say your life flashes before your eyes, da 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 da.
Yeah.
So that was the whole idea, and the premise was I get hoisted up on the jaws, the rope gets lit on fire. For those of you who don't know, it's an upside down straitjacket escape where I have 53 seconds to escape. The rope snaps just after I get out, basically. And what would happen was there'd be photos and videos of my life playing up until current day, from current day to when I was a baby. I would escape. The jaws would slam shut, and then the video would play rapidly in reverse. I would get up. I'm okay. Thank you very much. Da da da. And it just was a way to make like an escape more, like give it more meaning. And that was always kind of the problem with those effects. And so like Arturo just pulled, like, I don't know who came up with it or how he came up with it, but he basically like gave it to me at the end of the thing, and he's like, you can do it as long as whenever anybody asks, you say that it's yours. And it's been ripped off a bunch of times since then, and I've seen people do it, and it like it eats away at me. And I always tell Arturo, I'm like, hey, this has been ripped off. But Arturo's like, he's a veteran, and he's been in the business forever, and he's his head is in the right place, and he's like, what can you do? It happens, And I'm like, no, but. Yeah, it's
So Darcy, I'm not hitting my 2003 peak anymore, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to be hanging upside down
Why not?
under the jaws of death anytime soon. Can you tell us what it's like to do that trick? Because it's not a trick many magicians will ever get to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those ones where it's like you have to, like, I did it in Arturo's show for 4 months, and then I did it on BGT, and then I did it like a bunch after, and it's like you have to feel it to make it work, otherwise it doesn't work. Like if you get complacent in doing that and you become comfortable with it, it loses its effect. Like I've seen people in like, I don't even know, like in, I don't know, where they just buy a ton of illusions and just do them, and there's guys that have like just bought that prop and are just hanging upside down, just doing this like, and it's like, oh, dude, come on, like put something into it, like you know. And it's one of those ones where it's like magicians saw it and it got some exposure, and then everybody wants to do the Jaws because it's kind of you know, one of those things, and it's but you have to feel it. You can't just like become complacent with it and buy it and see how it works and just do it. Like you gotta put something into it, I guess.
I ask, do you actually enjoy doing it? Or
I do. I love doing that piece. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Well, I saw you do it in Bristol at the Hippodrome, and I took an opportunity to have a look around the audience while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And people are probably on the edge of their seats as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's nicely placed. Obviously, in that show, it's the end of the show as well.
Yeah.
So by then, hopefully, they really like you.
Well, the problem was, like, there was I don't know if you saw the thing that I did on the New Year's Day parade.
Is this the lean thing?
No, it's this underwater thing that we've been working on.
Oh, I've heard this wasn't ready in time.
Yes, and the problem was, and this was like such a last minute thing. It was like
What's
like
the effect of this, by the way?
So essentially, we wanted to, like, the closer of the UK tour was designed to be what would have been the 4th spot on BGT had there been one, right?
Okay.
We were like, what would we follow this up with? And I'd always been like fascinated by the water torture cell and this and that, but there's you know, the Illusionist here where the guy's doing it, and Andrew Basso, who's amazing.
Yeah.
But you know, the water torture cell, it's a thing, like it's common, you know, and we wanted to sort of revamp that. So what we did was, instead of having the whole tank of water, it's just a glass box, and my head goes in this glass box, and the glass box is like mounted to like a stockade that opens and closes.
Okay.
So it opens, my head goes in the glass box, the stockades close. My wrists go through the stockades, they're locked in, my head's locked in the box, then only the box gets filled with water. And then the whole thing gets raised up in the air. And so instead of being a whole tank of, like, you've heard stories of people, like, falling over and drowning in a puddle. Like, only this needs to be covered to drown. So we just simplified it instead of being in a whole tank and made it tour friendly, you know? And it was like, oh yeah, so, like, I was super, like, excited and passionate about this idea, and then I completely underestimated like how dangerous it would actually be. Like, I started training to hold my breath and stuff, but the second you do it in the actual like situation, it changes everything. So we'd got it like 4 days before the tour, but I'd been like doing the training and stuff, and it was like, no, put me in, fill it with water, take it up. Like, we're just going for it immediately, and we took it up there. And it's like, it's totally different. I just panicked completely. And the second you panic, it's like, it's over. And I like took in some water, so I like brought this thing down. Everybody rushed in, pulled it open, and it was like a terrifying thing. So we're like, okay, we're not doing this again today. We'll figure this out. We'll think about it. Reapproach it the next day. Same thing happened, and it was just like this. Then the show opened like 2 days from then. So I was like, this, I can't. No, we need to figure this out. And so I felt like we didn't have a closer for the first like couple shows of the tour, and then we got the Jaws in, and it was just like, but the whole time it like ate away at me, because I was like, no, this is the piece. But it's one of those things, and I'm actually like really proud of it now, because it's not just like a buy it and do it kind of thing, you know? So it's I'm proud of it, and you know, it's nice.
Before we move away from talking about BGT, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, your management, are you with the BGT management, or are you with a different management? I'm not sure.
No, I'm with different management.
So I asked a question. One of the things I noticed in your show at the Bristol Hippodrome, there's not much mention of Britain's Got Talent. Have you and your management made a conscious decision to sort of move away from talking about it a little bit?
I mean, I don't know if... Yeah, I think it's more me than my management.
Okay.
It's funny. I think, like, BGT is all about what you do with it after. All about that. And obviously capitalizing on the opportunity while you're there. But I've sort of made the conscious decision. I don't forever want to be the guy that's like, oh, that's the guy from BGT. And of course, like, you capitalize on that while you can. But at a certain point, like for me now, it'll be coming on 2 years later, and I don't want to be the guy that was like, oh, you did BGT 5 years ago. I remember you. It's like, what have you done since, right? So it's, yeah, I mean, it's just, I felt like, especially because in the UK is where it sort of happened for me, and that was like largely how we were able to sell these tickets, of course. So yeah, I mean, what's the point of really mentioning it? Like, I don't want to harp on it, you know?
Yeah.
And the views and the whole thing and all that, like, it's cool and it's like, it's amazing, but at the end of the day, I feel like a magician who, like, just talks about his resume and what he's done, and you know, it's just like, come on, you know. So it's I mean, I don't know. You use it for what it is, but you do it in a tactful way where it's you're not being a dick about it, basically.
One of the things I've noticed about your time on Britain's Got Talent is obviously that every year for the last 5 years, a magician has done very well on it.
Yeah.
And I think they've all been great, actually, without exception, over the last 5 years. You have had an amazing impact on social media. You've got about 300,000 likes on your Facebook page. Some of the other magicians have only got 10 to 20% of that. Do you know why? Why you made such a bigger impact? Because let's be honest, actually, you didn't win it. And Jamie came second. I think you came fourth. Is that
fifth?
Fifth. Okay.
Yeah.
Any idea why that happened?
Yeah. Well, like I understand what happens and who interacts, and I understand the insights and the analytics of my social media completely. And this is talking strictly business wise, and I don't want this to sound like I'm arrogant or anything like that, but essentially what I'll try to do, and because I know it's like a lot of the people that are interacting on my social media are like young girls.
I see.
Right? And no, I shouldn't say all of them. There's Magic fans and whatever, but I know the dynamics and the analytics of it. So if I want like a post to, this sounds brutal.
I get it.
But if I want like a Magic post to do really well, if a few days beforehand this sounds horrendous, but it's like and the thing is when it becomes sort of a business, I guess, like it is now, and you understand that people are actually paying money to come see you, they expect to see what they want. You have to give them what they want. You know, they're paying hard-earned money to come see you. What do they want to see? And for me on BGT, it was like, take your top off, come on, get your kid off. And it's like, it's hilarious. And but anybody who knows me back home and my friends and family, like when that was all happening, they're like, oh my God, Darcy, like what is happening over there? Like people are like, you know, and it was funny, but like, oh my God, like, you know. But
I think I've asked you a really tough question there, actually.
But
and I get the answer entirely.
Yeah. But if I stagger the posts, basically is what I'm saying. If I do like what would appear to be, and this is, you know, a douchebag post, and I'll say that openly, what would appear to be like, oh, this guy's a dick, you know, like what I would see a magician post and be like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. If I follow that up with like a Magic bit or a Magic video or something that I really want them to see, then, you know, it's just kind of understanding the business of it. And I know we're all in a business that's very like, look at me, but it's all about doing it strategically and being like, look at me because of what I can give to you, like this experience. And it's just, how do you get them to watch? And that's, for me, that was what I found that they, you know, part of it that they connected with. And
summary, you need to get in the gym to get the likes.
I'm not saying that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying, because there's fabulous magicians out there that are doing like, I don't know, maybe I don't know. You post things here and there. You give them what they want. You have to give them what they want before you can give them what you want them to have.
Yeah.
And that's basically the formula, right?
I understand. So you talk about opportunities that come off the back of Britain's Got Talent. I assume the TV special you had was massively related to it. First of all, let's be honest, you're the only one who's done it, actually. The magician, so far at least, magicians who have done well, no one else had an hour TV special. How did you do it, Darcy? What was the difference maker?
It was basically like ITV, the network, they were a fan, and we had meetings, and it was it was an interesting sort of strategic kind of like play of the powers that be, I guess. Like, so Psycho Entertainment, Simon Cattell's company, has I don't know if it's still the same guy. I think it is, but they have like a guy who basically like will be the management for all unmanaged acts, and if you're an unmanaged act going into it, you agree to be signed up by whoever they give you. And it becomes this whole weird thing where it's obviously like you're signing your life away in the hopes that you'll do well, and then they'll skyrocket you. And it was like, you know, I've been doing the ships, I'd been doing these variety shows and all of this stuff where I was like artistically unsatisfied, and I'd been doing it for like a really long time, that it was like, I'm not just going to sign away what I've built, you know. And the only reason I'm doing this is because, you know, we had spoken, and you had not, I shouldn't say convinced, but you'd made it seem like a good idea. But I'm not going to just give up everything I've worked for up until this point. And it was such a like, it's like so many situations needed to be maneuvered, and it was like basically getting in bed with ITV.
Right.
You know, and that was it. And it was like, instead of, you know, going with ITV Studios produced the ITV special, but that could have been done, you know, through whatever. It could have been done through any other production company, but we were, you know, we got in bed with them basically at the right time. They were a fan. We had sort of, you know, got in there. And
was it your idea to record it at the Blackpool Opera House? Did you?
No.
Don't mind me being so brash, but
no.
Was it the Copperfield influence? You wanted to go down that road?
Well, yeah, exactly. What we wanted to do was do the live show as the special, and I had no prior experience to doing a TV special or to really doing much like feature things on television, apart from like doing interviews and that type of thing. So when it came to being like, you have an hour special, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, of course I want to do my live show. Like, I'm a live performer. I can't do what Dynamo does. I can't, you know, this is what I do. So let's make this the special. And it was like, I didn't have any necessarily like any clout or any power in being like, no, it needs to be like this. It was like, here's what we want. We're going to fit you into our format. And it was like, you know, looking back on it, there's things about it that, of course, I'm not happy with, and not that I'm angry about them or anything like that. It's just things that I would have done differently.
Can you tell us?
Yeah, and there was just certain sort of like, I guess, the choice of a bit of the material, which was like, it was all very last minute too. Like, BGT ended in the summer. That special aired December, so it was like 5 months after the special, and we did that whole thing on material that I either already had or some of it was completely brand new. And looking at it, like me watching it, I'm like, I feel like any other magician could probably tell the material that was brand new, but it's you know, it's, and that was the thing. You take the opportunities as they come and you make the best of them, and that's what I did, and I don't regret anything about it. But there's of course things I would have done differently. And
the walking through the wall, that was not supposed to be the ending. Is that correct?
No, it was, but it didn't. And what happened was we had a certain amount of time to shoot in the theater, and we couldn't. And nothing. And we were like powering through the show, and it was like, I had never really done anything like that. So while we were doing it, I was like, oh man, like this is going really well. I can't wait. Da 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 da. And I can't remember what we were. Something was happening, but we came up like right on the time where that if we go over that time, it's like massive amount of money for the network, this and that, and da da da. And there was like the back blind. If anyone has seen the special, basically what happens is I get on one side of a brick wall, these sort of phone booth type things go around me, and then what's supposed to happen is all the blinds fly up. I'm on the other side, and then that wasn't necessarily shot in the way that I wanted it to, and the back blind on one of the things didn't go up. So it was kind of like, well, why is it like that? And so we did it, and I was like, great. And I'm like, can we do it again or retake it? Like, nothing, this is done in front of 3,000 people. It's not, we're not doing camera tricks, but it's like, if this is going out,
it's got to look
can
right.
we retake it? And they're like, no, if we go over by another 30 seconds, it costs this and this and this. Everybody has to go, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, this is the closer of the show. And I had no clout or power or whatever, but it's that's not taking anything away from anyone who's involved. Stuff happens, and you know, it went out there and it helped. It did what it was supposed to do. It was that special was basically, you know, like a trailer for the tour, essentially, because I didn't want to repeat anything in the live tour that we did, but that special was designed to be the follow-up to BGT with the on-sale dates of the tour for people to buy tickets. So, and I wanted to not do that special as the tour. And so it did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, sure. My favourite bit of the special is the double levitation.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Tribute to your brother.
Yeah.
I just thought it's an incredible idea to use a levitation as a symbol of going to heaven.
Mm.
When did you come up with the idea for this?
I had been... my brother passed away in 2011.
I'm guessing this is one of your worked bits.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And since that happened, it was like... And I think with anybody who's a magician or an artist, they always like strive to find that thing that's full on them, which is why the Jaws video worked, because that's like, you know, a piece of you and that thing. And I think everybody strives to be an artist instead of a person doing tricks. And that's what I strive to be. But, you know, since my brother passed away, that was always a thing. I was like, how do I work this into the show where it's like, it appears to be therapeutic to me and not like I'm manipulating the crowd, not where it's like I talk about something sad, put on sad music, and then everyone feels bad for me and then they love me. That's like, I hate when people do that. I hate when magicians do that, and they talk about something that's like it's just, it's so, it's greasy is what it is. You're just manipulating them. So it was like, it has to be authentic. It can't be like you're trying to make them feel bad or sad for you so then they love you because they feel bad for you. It's just like, how do we do it? And it was like, the way in the special, and it's funny because it was different than in the tour, because I found in the special it was like maybe a bit too heavy. And then like, because you don't want anybody leaving your live show in tears, right? Like that's never the goal, but you want to tug on those heartstrings. So, and it's still a work in progress. I feel like it's still not right because it's something that I'm so close to.
Change the music for the tour.
Change the music, change the patter.
Because that's all to try and lighten it up a little bit.
To lighten it up, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's hard to go from something like that, where it's like, oh my God, this is like heartfelt and kind of sad, to now I'm going to risk my life. It's like, whoa, like what happened here, you know? So, yeah, that's one of those bits that's like, it's even hard for me to watch because I always feel like I'm not saying what I really want to say or expressing it like in that way, and that's just because it's like literally like, you know, the biggest tragedy I've ever gone through in my life, and how do you put that on stage in an entertaining way? So I think that's constantly a battle, but I'm working it out.
The Magicians Podcast brought to you in association with the Magic Circle, the world's premier magical society. Are you ready to join the world's most exclusive magic club? Visit themagiccircle.co.uk to find out more.
Gigi-O, free for 30 days. Be a pro, get Gigi-O.
If you're a magician who does gigs, then you need Gigi-O. It's a web-based software designed for professional and semi-professional entertainers anywhere in the world. It generates PDF contracts and invoices. It updates the diary on your phone automatically, and it even tracks your payments. Read what others are saying about it and take a free 30-day trial right now at gigio.co.uk. That's Gigi-O, spelled GIGGIO.co.uk.
Whether you're new to magic or a seasoned professional, Alakazam Magic are here to help. Alakazam have been supplying magic to magicians for well over 20 years. Not only do we carry all the latest and greatest magic tricks, books and DVDs, but we also manufacture one of the finest ranges of magic tricks in the world. The Alakazam name is synonymous with great customer service, educated advice and honesty. So if you're shopping for new magic, make sure you check out our website, www.alakazam.co.uk, or pay a visit to our fully stocked shop.
Of course, what comes with great success sometimes is a bit of criticism as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Recently, Rick Thomas has said he's not happy about the fact you didn't vanish at the end.
Yeah.
I just put it out there.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you did, because this was like I didn't. It's kind of hard to talk about this without discussing the method, but I didn't. So basically, my understanding before this, I'd done my research, I had looked into it, everything other than the fact of basically emailing Rick and asking him. And my point of that was because it's like, but you don't own this method. So I know if I ask you, it's just, I'm not saying like it's so hard to explain without like saying exactly what it is, but basically that method is used in multiple things. I've used that exact same method before. So I guess it was, he got mad and sent me this message, and I was like, is it me using this method on a floating person? And he's like, no, not at all. It's the fact that you vanish him while you're in the air. And I was like, oh my God, Rick, I am so sorry.
Okay.
Like, had I known that, like, we would not be having this discussion. It was like, literally, like, I'll land on the stage, give it a beat, give it 2 beats, I'll shake. Like, I didn't know that Rick's sort of adaptation or creation or whatever you want to call it was the fact that he pulls the drape off while he's in the air.
Yeah.
And as soon as that was made clear, I was like, Rick, I will not do that. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And so
yeah.
everything's cool with us. And
I have to be honest, I wouldn't have known that either.
Yeah, and neither did I. And I looked into it, and I had, there's so many people doing that. And what I even specified to him in an email was just like, Rick, I swear to God, it wasn't like I saw you being ripped off a trillion times and then I thought I could rip you off. It was just like, this is an open domain method, which it is, you know. And is it he's like, no, you're just in the air when you do it. I'm like, say no more.
Yeah.
Done. It's changed. No problem. So.
Yeah. This comes up on a lot of episodes of the podcast.
Yeah.
Criss Angel's not happy with you. Not happy with you either.
Yeah.
Because of a method, illusion which you did on the One show.
Yeah.
I'll just let you know, by the way.
Yeah.
You're not the only illusionist in this room who has done an illusion on the BBC concourse in front of the BBC building.
Perfect.
I've done it too.
What'd you do?
They asked us to leave.
What do you mean? You weren't supposed to be doing it?
You can see it on YouTube. Yeah,
oh, okay.
I'll send you a link. They asked us to leave.
Nice.
Anyway, do you want to give your side the story of that?
Of Criss? I think this goes way further back, but where do I start with this? Okay, do you want to hear? This is my Criss Angel story.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm so glad that I have this platform to voice this on. So the Dove Act video comes out from Britain's Got Talent, and it's like, I don't even know, I'm debating what I'm going to do in the next round. I can't believe this video is taking on the traction like this. And it's up to like 6 million views on YouTube. And I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. Of course this is going to stop. I don't know what's happening. I get a call. And at the time, where was I? I can't remember, but nonetheless, it's Criss. And he's like, oh, hey, Darcy, like, you know, you should come to Vegas and we should hang out. And I'm thinking this is because he's seen the Bird Act video, but he doesn't mention it. So I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. I'd love to come to Vegas and hang out. Like, when's a good time? And we pick a date, but there was no talk of yeah, I'll fly you out here, nothing. So we just he's like, yeah, you know, if you're in Vegas on like whatever this date, like it'd be cool to hang out. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. So I go online, I pay to fly myself there. What happens is the day before, so I booked the flights myself. I'm so excited. I think I'm going to Vegas to like hang out with, you know, in North America, probably one of the most well-known illusionists at the time. And I'm so excited about it. Like I'm experiencing this video of BGT going around. This Criss Angel guy is calling me up, asking me to go to Vegas. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be crazy. Day before I fly out, someone from his office phones me up and goes, hey, Darcy, can you get doves for while you're out here? And I went, what? For what? Does Criss need doves? What are you talking about? She goes, no. Criss would like to see you, you know, maybe you could go through your Bird Act for him. I'm like, what are you talking about? Go through my Bird Act for Criss? I was like, with all due respect, like I just did like the most nerve-wracking, intense performance of my entire life, and that video is like going around. Like, can't he just watch it on the internet? Well, no. Like he wants to see you do it live. I'm like, yeah. Let me see what I can do. And then I hang up. I'm like, there is not a chance I'm gonna try to source out doves and whatever. So I phoned. I'm not gonna say any names because I don't want to throw them under the bus. But I phoned my friends in Vegas, and I'm like, if somebody phones you to ask if you have doves for me, just please say no, because I'm not interested in doing this. I don't know what's happening here. This is a messed up situation. Like, yeah, no problem. That's fine. So long story short, I get there. I'm like, sorry, I can't find doves yet. I'll keep looking. And basically what Criss had said it was going to be was like, yeah, come hang out for a few days. We'll party. We'll hang out. We'll get to know each other. And I'm thinking I'm going there to like experience the A-list rock star lifestyle. So I get this call before asking me for doves. I'm like, this is really weird. Not down with that. So I get out there and I pay my way out. He covered the hotel, but he lives in the hotel, so whatever. But I get there and he's like sitting in this room with his mom and like a bunch of people around him, and we're just chit-chatting, and his mom, who was there, was really sweet. First thing she says to me is like, oh, have you been to see Copperfield's show while you're out here? And Criss is immediately like, Mom, why would you ask him that? And I'm like, whoa, okay, that's a sensitive topic. Don't bring that one up. And we go down until he has like a Costco-sized, or I don't know what you call it out here, but it's like
a big warehouse.
A big, massive warehouse that's huge. And it's like a kid in a candy store. He has like a rehearsal room, which is set up, and a workshop and all this stuff. And it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. And so he hands me a deck of cards. He's like, you do close-up magic? And I'm like, oh, I mean, I do a bit for laymen, but I would do a walk-around gig, but I wouldn't stand in front of a group of magicians and do a close-up set. Like, that's not me. He's like, well, show me a card trick. And I'm like, okay. So I go into like, I started to do an ambitious card, and he's, can I swear on this podcast?
You can.
Yeah,
It's
and he's just fucking burning me the whole time, and I'm trying to give it the beats like you would do a layman. We're like, pause, look at them, now look at you, do the move. And he just wasn't. And I was like, so as soon as he just like was like burning my hands, I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then he's like, all right, well, do you have any show music on your phone? And I'm like, yeah, I've been playing around with some stuff. You want to hear it? And he's like, yeah, plug it in. So I plug in some this probably sounds like I'm making it up, but it's not. This is the most surreal moment like ever. And I'll shorten it so it doesn't sound like I'm embellishing the story, but I plug in some show music. He wheels over a sub trunk, and he's like, Darcy, move around. And I'm like, what do you mean, Chris? And he's like, I just want to get a feel for how you are on stage. I'm like, this is not the situation for you to see how I would be on stage. I'm in a warehouse with you. And I was fluffing him a bit. I'm like, Chris, with all due respect, you're the most respected magician in the world. This is really weird. I didn't come here prepared to audition. And he's like, no, man, it's not even that. Like, da-da-da-da. And then it became clear that this was an audition. And I was like, and I said, Chris, with all due respect, why wouldn't you tell me this was an audition? I came out here because honestly I thought we were going to party. Like, I thought this was going to be a thing. I was like, oh yeah, this will be cool. Yeah, exactly. And so it just became that. And I was like, and I was supposed to be there. And that was the first day I was there. And I'm like, all right, okay, with all due respect, this isn't what I'm trying to do. It was very nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. I'm going to go. And then I left. And then I was there for like 3 extra days, just wasting money because he invited me out there to audition when he didn't tell me it was an audition. So then what happens is, long story short, all of this BGT stuff happens. The one show reaches out. They want this stunt for, well, just the one show. And this was a big opportunity for me to try to sell tickets to the tour. And I had done and Chris just claims that we just blatantly ripped him off, which is not the case. You don't own those methods. Those are not that if you want to get into the nitty gritty of it, you rip that off from Franz Harari. Like, it's not like that. You know what I mean? So we do this thing that he thinks is too similar to his, and which is, I mean, I could see how he would say that, and that's the thing. I could absolutely see how he would say that, but it's not like I watched his video, studied it, ripped it off, this and that, and da da da. And the worst part, yeah, he just reached out. He was grasping, like, he emailed Sean Fields, who I work with closely. Sean used to work with him, but only for like a couple years, and that was a thing. And this other magic producer, Michael Soto is his name, and he was basically like, you took 2 of my guys, they taught you my routine, and da 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 da. And it's like, Chris, that was like, first of all, you can't even find video of you really doing that, and like, they didn't work for you when that happened. Nobody was privy to that illusion. It's not like that at all. These are common methods used all the time. And he just like freaked out about it, and he basically was like called up Alex Belfield at no, he's a freelance guy. He's not even at anywhere.
He didn't even ring the Magicians podcast.
Yeah, right. That's exactly. That's it. Now I'm here explaining the real story. But so yeah, long story short, I wake up in the morning because he's in Vegas on Vegas time. So I wake up to like 7 missed calls from Chris, and I had his number from when I was out there supposed to be dancing for him, basically. So I had his phone number. So I wake up and I have like a whole bunch of missed calls, and I'm like, oh, Chris is calling me. I log online. It's like 7 a.m. UK time, so I know he's probably asleep, whatever. So I go on Twitter and I see who was it? John Farrell had sent out a bunch of stuff. Who was like, oh, you're ripping off Chris. We did this on season 1 of Mind Freak. And I was like, come on, dude, you've done, and in all honesty, Chris has done so much magic on TV. There's nothing that you could really do, like, for a big PR stunt that he hasn't already done. Like, he's, we're not ripping you off, Chris. You haven't invented magic, so he has this whole, like, hissy fit. And so what happened on the phone call, and this is, like, oh, man, this is ridiculous. He's yelling at me. Absolutely yelling at me, like, just like, speak to me like a grown adult. The fact that you're yelling at me right now, like, I'm just like, I've completely lost interest. I have no interest in this because you're speaking to me like a child. Like, come on. So he's like screaming, yelling. The press has been ringing me all day, and I know the UK press from BGT. They're not legal. Legally, they can't print anything until they've given you a chance to reply. So the fact that nobody had given me a chance to reply or even called me yet, like immediately told me Criss is phoning the press. He's trying to sell a story. And in my head, I'm like, oh, please, Lord, sell this story to the press. I'm trying to sell tickets to a tour. This would be amazing. You know, I'm like, and that's just business. Like, it's not like this is what I'm going to do, get Criss mad, and da-da-da. And then everybody sort of, you know, the higher ups of management or whatever, and my agent over here and stuff was just like, nobody knows Criss over here. Criss doesn't mean anything over here. This is a non-story. Like, if he tried to sell this to the press will be like, what do you mean 2 magicians use boxes to vanish? Like, it's not, you know? Yeah. So it became that kind of thing, and I was like, they were all like, don't say anything, don't do anything. And me, I'm like, no, like, I want to sell tickets, this will be good. But
I think the most shocking part of this story is that you were sad to have 3 spare days in Vegas. Did you not go to Treasures?
No, you know what I did? I went to Copperfield show, and it was absolutely amazing. Really? And I was like, this is, you know.
Did you go to the buffet just across from his show?
I didn't, no.
See, that's why me and you are different, Darcy,
I know.
That's why you take your top off on stage and I can't do that.
I feel like I'm rambling on, sorry.
No, not at all.
These are so many things, like, after, because BGT happened so quick, then that happened, it was just, and then this tour happened, da-da-da, and it became like, it's hard to deal with, like, from what you feel is, like, sort of a brotherhood of magicians beforehand to when you sort of experience something that's completely unexpected to having people that you did at some point look up to, like, just coming down on you and yelling at you, and it was like, this is a lot to, like, take in within this, like, less than a year, you know? Yeah. I'm just doing what I want to do, and I'm so fortunate and grateful to have the, you know, success of Britain's Got Talent to allow me to do all of these things, and it's like, when, it's so petty, you know what I mean? It's like,
there's one final character we need to touch on. He's been on this podcast.
Yes.
And he's very outspoken about you
he is.
On social media. You know exactly who I'm talking about. He was involved.
I was wondering if this was going to come up.
My understanding is that he helped you through the process of Britain's Got Talent. Of course, I'm talking about Russ Stevens.
Yeah.
He's episode 8 of the Magicians podcast. And you've never said anything about all the things that he's said.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you've never said anything?
Because there's no need. There's no need to stoop to that level. And I'm not trying to put him... I understand where he's coming from, just as I do with the rest of this. But it was just a situation that didn't work out. And in all honesty... like, and he's probably listening to this, but he just didn't approach the situation correctly. And it's like, I'll go into it, but at the it's just stupid, the whole thing. It's like, I don't like, what is with the literally every opportunity, like,
he thought he was going to manage you.
Yeah. So basically, here's what happened, and I will absolutely spell this out, not in any sort of slandering way or whatever. And it was like, because the episode 8, I saw that he was posting. I couldn't even listen to it because I knew it was just going to be a whole.
To be fair to him, actually, all he actually said was that he wouldn't ever work with you again.
That's totally fine.
And he didn't actually go into much detail, so I think that's fair to say that.
Oh yeah, maybe I should have listened to it then. Because maybe I shouldn't go into detail.
But there's been some other times. I think it's fair to say when he was a bit critical of your TV special, and his social media and things like that.
Yeah.
So
he like the thing was, so our churro, like our. Where do we start? What happened was with BGT, part of the reason I agreed to do it was because Russ Stevens was involved, 100%. They said, we have this magic consultant. I knew Russ and James's relationship just from creeping magic on the internet and whatever, just knowing what guys are doing. And when they said Russ, and I knew the Russ Stevens, Sean Farquhar beef beforehand, so I knew Russ's name. And they were like, we have this magic consultant who's going to be the consultant this whole year. His name is Russ Stevens. And I was like, oh yeah, he's a pretty respected guy, absolutely. Russ and I started talking. They wanted the Dove Act, and I said, Russ, and this is 100%. I said, Russ, I will do BGT if you're going to be there for the audition. He said, yeah, for sure. I committed to do it. It was a few weeks before. He said he couldn't do it, and I was like, fine. I guess I'll go and I'll do it. I went and I did it by myself with my girlfriend, who was the girl who appeared out of the birdcage, and it was the most spectacular moment of my entire life. Like, I went out there like shitting bricks, no clue what was going to happen. I thought I was going to whip out one dove, X, seen it before, you're off. And it went the complete opposite way, so I was ecstatic. The thing, and I can't even remember when the next time I chatted with Russ about it was, but fast forward, he was then on board. You know, it was like when you weren't there for the first one, whatever. I had already been doing the décolleté chair routine. There was talks about everybody, how are we going to get into the finals? Well, we should do the jaws here, da-da-da-da. Long story short, Russ had some nuances with the décolleté chair routine. which he shared, which were very helpful, but the reproduction as the camera guy was something I was already doing. Russ's credit in that routine would have been the nuances with the actual gimmick and the way the table was designed. So we had worked that out. That was, partially him, but that actual fundamentals of that routine were something I'd already been doing. We just made it more deceptive. The last bit was our churros. And so the jaws I had already been doing for months and months and months before BGT. The addition of the video was our churro briquettis. The music for the jaws was Russ. That was his addition. But during this whole process, when it started going really, really well, he said, I should manage you. And he kept, and in his defense, there were points where I was like, yeah, sure. But I had already signed a contract, and I know he did too, that was like, we're not going to enter into any new agreements during this time period. And he kept saying, I should manage you. And he also, kept saying things like, well, if it wasn't for the relationship we have, I wouldn't be doing this. So kind of like manipulative, like making me feel guilty / thankful that he was there. And being in such a high emotion situation, not realizing that these are already bits that I had been doing that are just sort of, they're being polished, I guess. And he had his additions in them, of course. But we had like a sort of creative difference on, no, I shouldn't even say creative, it was a technical difference. It was like this is going into so many details, but it was basically like a line, like, am I going to deliver this live or is this going to play on the LED screen? And then it became words between Sean Fields, who's like one of my best friends. We've been like, grew up in the same town. We've like worked together all the time. And we sort of came into this together, and the two of them sort of went at it. And like, I'm sorry, but Sean Fields is like one of my best friends from like, since I was like 14. And it's like, if there's one person who has my back, it's him. And we're all, and that situation, we're arguing for what's best for the show and how we're going to make it play off. And we're also playing a game with the producers and the whole network and this and that. It's like, you can't have that yelling match on stage in front of these people. Like, we're not, but nonetheless, he thought he was going to manage me. It went really well. He didn't end up managing me. Now he's very vocal about me. It's basically how it goes. But I mean, I have nothing but respect for James and Jamie and what they've done and what he's doing with them, and good on him. And it's just, I'm not one to hop in online and act like I'm 14 and start, sending out little snippets of like crankiness. Like, come on.
Darcy Oake,
and you can leave that in.
Darcy Oake, what's the best and worst days of your career? Best day, worst day.
Best day of my career, doing the Bird Act on BGT. Worst day of my career was, I think, 3 weeks after that, because the first round of BGT was pre-recorded. And then there was like 4 months. No, not 4. That was pre-recorded in February, and then I think it started in April. So about 4 months. So in between that time, I was like, I have to work. So I got back on another cruise ship. And it's funny that like the agent who booked me for this cruise ship, it was basically like, do 1 week on this cruise ship at the port. You take all your stuff, you move it over to the next ship, and you do your show on that ship for a week, and then back and forth for like 6 weeks. And what he didn't tell me in this was that one show had to be 30 minutes and the show on the other ship had to be 45 minutes. And I was like, well, I got to pack this up every week, move it across. It has to be, all right, I got one 30-minute show that I can do and like a welcome aboard spot and whatever. So I get on the second ship and the guy's like, hey, you ready for like your 45-minute set? I was like, oh, no, I thought it was 30 minutes, right? And he's like, nope, it's 45. And then he like walks off. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't have 15 minutes of material. Like, what am I going to do? So I had like a couple little filler bits and whatever that I was throwing in, but a large part of it was just milk the audience interaction, right? And it was the opening night of the cruise, which is the worst night to be on a cruise ship because everybody's traveled around the world and they've been waiting in line, they just want to go to bed, and now let's watch a magic show, right? And it's supposed to be 45 minutes, so I'm filling time in this like prediction bit, and this wasted guy in the crowd just yells out, no more questions. And I'm just like asking people questions, filling time, trying to find a moment that, I'm like, oh, perfect, this guy's yelling something out. Like I can fill time with this because I didn't hear what he said. And I'm like, oh, sir, what'd you say? He's like, no more questions. I'm like, what? What do you mean? He's like, say what you got to say and get the fuck off the stage. And I'm like, no, like, no. Like, I was still on such a high from, like, doing BGT that it was, like, immediately brought down to, like, no, you're still, like, grinding it out here. Like, don't, and that was such a valuable and important moment for me. Because, first of all, not only was his advice, like, extremely accurate, which is like, say what you gotta say, get off the stage. Like, don't drag it out. Like, get on with it, mate, as they say out here, right? And, but it was like, it was one of those moments that was just so humbling after, something that would potentially make your head explode after BGT. And so I think it was meant to be, for sure. But that was my worst. I've never had anybody be like, get off the stage, you suck.
Yeah, Darcy, we're running out of time here, and this has been an explosive
This is fun.
episode.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just rambling on. Sorry.
I need to give more guests alcohol when they come on.
Does nobody usually
I put whiskey in it. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm
perfect.
joking. I'm joking. And also, this is going out as a double bill, this episode with Strange, my double up partner. I'll be honest, he let the audience down, to be honest. So you've recovered the opening of season 3 beautifully in this episode. So with that, I'm going to ask you the last question for season 3. What do you think is the biggest problem with Magic in 2016? How can it be fixed?
I would say the biggest problem with Magic in 2016 is probably like, and this isn't a shot at anyone in particular or anything, but it's egos. And I know that like ego in general is kind of what gets all of us into this industry in general. You want to be able to do something that no one else can do. You want to be the center of attention. And that's like totally normal, I feel like, for anybody who's doing this. But I also feel like that when anybody starts to like actually work at doing it and like, grinding it out, like you're in the trenches, you're getting gigs, you're taking every gig, it's like at that point I feel like magicians start to look at each other like, well, why'd he get that gig and I didn't get that gig, or why is he doing this and I'm not doing it, like I'm better and all that type of thing. And it's like there's room for everybody at the top. You just have to, and I'm not saying I'm there, and this is like something that I've heard like a lot of like singers and comedians and stuff talk about. I'm not saying that I'm at the top, but it's just why I see like like guys that are like above what I'm doing as inspiration and not as competition, because it's like it's not, there's room for everybody, and it's not like one person's success directly affects the level of success that anybody else can have. It's like there's room for everybody. You just have to find your niche, and that sort of goes back to with like what I said earlier, which is like my niche isn't necessarily posting douchey pictures, but I know that's what like maybe my key demographic wants to see a bit of. So if I give them a bit of what they want to see and then give them a bit of what I want them to have, then it all, I can slowly build this thing and form it. But like, when guys are becoming like insecure and not like, welcoming or trying to like share or engage, and it just becomes this weird like, oh, what's he doing and why'd he get to do that? And it's like magicians are supposed to be a brotherhood, like it's supposed to be a group. Like we do something that 99% of the planet doesn't do. Why does it have to be an inner battle with us? That's like, and it's just, and I don't think that's something that like any one person can actively try to fix. I think it's like that's like a personal thing. It's I've always made the sort of conscious decision to like look at guys that are doing things larger and bigger for more money, for more people, for more often than I am, as inspiration and not as competition. And I think that's just like, I think it's a mindset pretty much. But I think if there's one problem within Magic, it might be the egos.
Yeah.
But what do you think? What do you think the one problem with Magic is?
Yeah, no one ever asked me a question before,
Yeah.
Darcy.
I want to throw this back at you.
Wow.
Because that's a deep one,
I tend to agree, actually, yeah. And I have a feeling one of my concerns with asking this question is I do fear this answer is going to come up a fair bit. Time will tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
there's
a lot of jealousy, isn't there?
I don't know what it is, and I don't want it to sound like, oh, I'm super successful and, don't hate on me kind of thing, because that's not the point. It's just like, if you look at how many singers there are that are all sort of known for one kind of style, that's the same. It's like Darren Brown, David Blaine, Copperfield. They all do different things, and I think that there's the same amount of opportunity for magicians to do different things and to be known for different things as there are for like singers and whatever.
Yeah.
It's just finding your calling and finding your voice. And I think, you know.
I think it's also understanding someone's voice.
Yeah.
So when I started making these podcasts, I promised myself I would interview some people who I didn't like, and I have done that. Just to be clear, you're not one of them.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I have actually. I've interviewed some people I didn't like.
Yeah.
And actually, after I've met them and interviewed them, I like them a bit more.
Yeah.
It's because I understand them a little bit more, and I understand where they're coming from. And I think it's particularly social media and things like that. We misunderstand people sometimes. Actually, at the heart of it, we all love magic, don't we?
Exactly.
I know when I watched you on Britain's Got Talent and Jamie Raven, I sat on my sofa and I was nervous for you because you're representing what I love when you're up there doing it. And I think a lot of magicians feel the same way. So,
and that's why I, have the utmost respect for anybody that's out there trying to make it work, trying to do it, And I feel like a lot of guys get hated on for like kind of stupid reasons where it's like, well, they're out there, they were willing to go out there and potentially look like an idiot for that, so that deserves some respect.
I challenge anyone else who's going to sit in my hot seat on season 3 to give me a more brilliant episode than this one.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Darcy.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Great start to the series. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
Pleasure.
That was Darcy Oake. Thank you so much for talking to me, Darcy. That was a terrific interview. That was week 1 of season 3 of the Magicians podcast, but don't worry, we are just getting warmed up. Over the next 2 weeks, we are going to have a very special fortnight here on the Magicians podcast. It is called the Illusionist Fortnight. 2 key characters from the hit West End show are in my hot seat over the next 2 weeks. In next Friday's episode, I am speaking to the producer of the show. His name is Simon Painter. If it is your dream to be in the Illusionist show, you cannot afford to miss this episode. He literally tells you what he looks for in his acts. The week afterwards, I will be speaking to one of my true magical heroes. Yes, Kevin James is in my hot seat on the Magicians podcast in 2 weeks' time. You cannot afford to miss this. Please do me a favour, go and tell all your magician friends that we are back. I will see you next Friday. Have a great week. Bye bye.